Hello and welcome to Web Relates. Today we're looking at the malicious compliance subreddit. Our first story is by Invisibunny. Interviewer accuses me of parking in the handicap spot and tells me to prove it. A few years ago, while I was in school and job hunting, I got an interview at a company for office work. Filing, answering phones, setting appointments, etc. I was looking forward to getting an office job instead of retail or fast food. The building had big window walls that overlooked the parking lot, so you could see cars pulling in and parking. I pull into the lot and park my car. I get out and walk into the office. Now, as I'm walking, I note that there is a car parked in the handicap spot in front of the office. This car looks just like mine, I should note. So I walk in, and I'm greeted by the manager, who kind of gives me a scowling look. It made me uneasy a little as we walked back to his office. We sit down and he's asking me questions in a bit of a clipped tone. He seems annoyed by my answers, and I don't understand what's going on at this point. Finally, he says, "Do you always park in handicapped spaces?" I'm confused, so I ask him what he means. He goes on a rant about how entitled I am for parking in the handicap spot at a potential place of employment, and I'm just getting more lost. I asked him what is going on because I didn't park in the handicap spot. I'm parked in the lot. He argues with me and says he watched my car pull in and saw me park there. I again told him that I did not park in a handicap spot, but the car that I walked by in that spot looked very similar to my car. He says that he knows that he saw me park and get out of the car. At this point, I'm over the whole interview. I knew this would be a cluster bomb of a place to work for if this is the guy managing it. Then he goes a step further and says, "Prove it." I grab my purse and get my keys out. I don't even bother waiting for him and just leave the office. He's jogging after me and hurried outside to stand and wait. His face went from smug arrogance to Pikachu real quick as I walked past the car in the handicap spot. He asked me where I was going as I walked over to my car. Then I turned around and made eye contact as I hit the button on my keys to unlock it and got in. He was starting to walk over to me, calling out that he was sorry about the misunderstanding, but I just put the car in reverse and left. I didn't even make eye contact with him as I drove away. ETA, this is my second interview, so the manager knows what I and my car look like. I don't know why he said he saw me. I'm assuming it was a lie to get me to admit I did it. I've pondered this many a night, trust me. Our next story is by Rights for Dough. Ignore the time difference in the evening? I'll ignore it in the morning. Not me, but my father-in-law's story. In the 1970s, before email and faxes, my father-in-law, Carl, worked as a trust agent for a bank in the Midwest, which is on Eastern Time. He handled trusts and estates for bank customers, including one older lady. Her son-in-law, Bruton, lived in California, which is on Pacific Time, 3 hours behind Carl, and managed his mother-in-law's estate on her behalf. Bruton used to call Carl with questions, which is not a problem, except Bruton would call at home at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, expecting him to answer questions. Carl would be at home, eating dinner or spending time with his family, so Bruton's calls were unwelcome. Carl would explain the time difference and said that Bruton should call before 5 p.m. Eastern Time, not Pacific Time. But Bruton always ignored Carl's requests and demanded that Carl call him back first thing in the morning. Carl was nice and would wait until 11 a.m. Eastern Time to give Bruton time to get settled in his own office until he decided he'd had enough. The day after Bruton's latest call, Carl went to his office extra early, got the information, and then promptly at 8 a.m., Carl called Bruton's house. A sleepy Bruton answered the phone and croaked, "Hello?" "Good morning, Bruton," Carl all but hollered into the phone. "What time is it?" Bruton groaned. "It's 8 a.m., Carl said. "But it's 5 in the morning here." "Huh, so it is. I guess there's a 3-hour time difference. But you said you wanted these answers first thing in the morning. And it's 8 a.m. here, so I thought I'd give you a call." Bruton never called past 5 p.m. again. Our next story is by a deleted account. Church wants to sue me for a review. I'm from Germany. We are a very litigious society, so much so that businesses can sue individuals for writing bad reviews. In fact, per German law, it's up to the individual to provide evidence that what they wrote actually happened, or else the individual can be forced to take down the review and pay legal costs to the business. I'm a tradesman and did some renovation work for a church in a small town. The church did not pay me. I take 50% up front, and the church had cheated me out of the second half later after I'd completed the job. The church only had one other review. I wrote a review stating that I had been cheated by the church. I promptly got a legal letter from the church demanding to take it down unless I wanted to be brought to court. The church could easily argue that they paid me in cash, and I would be out of luck according to German law. Okay, I complied with their demand. I took down the review and posted a new one stating that I'm a tradesman, and the church threatened to sue me for writing a simple review. I also attached the legal letter from the church as an image in the review. Fast forward a few months, I received an angry call from the clergyman. He said my review had caused several tradesmen to either ghost him or ask him for complete payment up front. He claimed that I had cost them thousands, and that I would burn in hell for hindering God's work. I then asked him, "What is your religion founder's view on honesty and compassion?" Cue a moment of radio silence, followed by him hanging up the phone. No legal letter yet. Anyhow, I can now substantiate my review. Yes, okay, I like that one. I like that one a lot. It's a very nice use of the loophole. Our next story is by Can3GXW. People don't understand why you're leaving early. First time posting here, but have to get this out. Maybe this could also be posted in r/anti-work. I was working for a smallish company, about 60 employees across several locations. IT support for both hardware, laptops, phones, and software. When I was hired, just under 9 years ago, it was verbally agreed that instead of clocking any call-outs as overtime, I would just take the time in lieu. Call-outs were always minimal, and there were never any issues with me taking the time here and there to make up for it. Any calls in the middle of the night were quickly resolved, and I had no problem getting back to sleep. Appointments in the middle of the day were fine because of the additional hours from whenever. This worked well for almost my entire time there. I also always started early, just depending on when I left the house, got into the office, got my coffee. Could have been anywhere between 5 and 30 minutes, because I would leave the house earlier so as not to wake the family if school was off that day. I didn't care at that point. It never bothered me. They got free time from me, but again, I did not care, because honestly, what else did I have to do? It was a great job, until it wasn't. One weekend, I was working on some hardware maintenance, cleaning up wiring, Ethernet plugs, installing a new UPS. It took me the better part of Sunday to complete, 6 to 8 hours. This was understood, approved in advance, and appreciated. The following week, I decided to start burning those extra hours up. I still came in early, as I had done for years, but started leaving an hour early from my regular end time every day if nothing was going on. This is important. If something needed done, I got it done. I was reachable via email until early evening, and phoned pretty much 24/7. This particular week was slow, so I had nothing going on. I left an hour early for the first 4 days. On Friday, my boss comes to me and gently says, "People notice that you've been leaving early this week. I'd like you to make sure that you stay in your office until the scheduled end of day in case someone needs you." I explained to him that I was burning up lieu days, and he just reiterated that it looks bad to others. Seriously? You can't tell the others that I work my 40 hours a week, just not at the same time as them. Fine. Cue the MC. I immediately submitted 4 hours of overtime for the hours that I hadn't taken in lieu. I still showed up at the office at whatever time I got there, but didn't start any work until 8 a.m. If asked, I would say, sure, 8 a.m. start time. If I got called outside of office hours, depending on how long I spent on the issue, I logged it as overtime. User calls me at 7 p.m. to ask a question, I answer him in 30 seconds. 1 hour overtime. When my boss then started to ask, "How come you're submitting all of this overtime?" I responded with a simple, "Some people don't understand or like me taking lieu time, so I need to claim it as overtime since I'm at my desk from 8 to 4. Because I wasn't available at his beck and call, it ended up costing them more money. 95% of my job could be done from home because of full remote access. But that stupid old school mentality means that people in the office need to see you at your desk all day long. I left the company very shortly after that for a much better paying job with full work from home. Know your worth. Okay, that's all we have for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe. Until the next video, cheers.